Hello, I'm Patricia, a 34-year-old who leads a pretty ordinary life, balancing a regular job while raising my son. Romance wasn't a big part of my life until I hit my 30s. That's when, concerned about me being single, my parents introduced me to William. He seemed perfect, deeply committed to his family, which resonated with my values. We married, and it felt like everything was falling into place, a real-life fairy tale. 8 months into our marriage, our lives took a dramatic turn. William called me several times one day, sounding exhausted. When I returned his calls, he broke the news that his father, Paul, had suddenly collapsed at home and was rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, Paul passed away, leaving a void in our lives, especially for William's mother, who was left to cope alone. William stepped up, spending a lot of time with her, taking her out, and even planning trips to help her through her grief. The situation became complicated when I won a trip to Hawaii through a contest. Instead of seeing it as a chance for us to get away and perhaps heal, William saw an opportunity. He threatened to divorce me unless I allowed him and his mother to go on the trip without me, leveraging the prize to ensure his mother's happiness. His mother seemed quite content with this arrangement, but I was left feeling manipulated and sidelined. Determined not to let them undermine me so easily, I decided to stand up for myself. I wasn't just going to accept their plan without a fight. The situation revealed a side of William that I hadn't anticipated, one that was willing to use emotional blackmail to get what he wanted. This realization was disheartening, but it also steeled my resolve to address the dynamics of our relationship and ensure my own happiness wasn't continually sacrificed. It wasn't that William completely neglected me, but whenever our plans clashed with his commitments to his mother, he invariably chose her side. His typical responses were, "Sorry, Patricia, Mom needs me," or, "We planned this with Mom a long time ago." Although I outwardly agreed, inside I was often seething with frustration. Why was it always me who had to bend? Wasn't William's mom being overly demanding? Despite this ongoing issue, William's closeness to his mother was undeniable, and aside from this, our marriage seemed stable. I just assumed this was the norm for some families. My own little escape became engaging in crossword puzzles that offered prizes. This hobby was especially perfect for times when William was preoccupied with his mom. Occasionally, I'd even win gift cards or meals, which was a nice bonus. Then, one day, I hit the jackpot. I won 2 tickets to Hawaii. Thrilled, I double and triple checked the win before even thinking about making travel arrangements. Initially, I considered inviting William but hesitated, knowing his tendency to involve his mom in our travels. After some reflection, I decided the tickets would be a wonderful gift for my parents. On my way home, I stopped by their house to deliver the exciting news. Bursting with excitement, I announced, "Mom, guess what? I won tickets to Hawaii." Her eyes lit up with surprise and joy. "Wow, that's fantastic. You and William must be thrilled," she responded. I paused for a moment, then said, "Actually, I want you and Dad to have them." Mom looked genuinely astonished, yet touched by the gesture, unsure of what to say next. "Are you sure?" she asked, her voice tinged with surprise and delight. "Absolutely," I replied. "William travels enough as it is. I want you and Dad to enjoy this opportunity." Mom's face lit up with joy, but I noticed a hint of concern on Dad's face. "What's wrong?" I asked, catching his worried expression. "Well, it's a busy time of year at the company. I'm not sure I can take time off right now," Dad explained, his tone apologetic. "That's unfortunate," I sighed, feeling a mix of disappointment and understanding. Then Dad brightened up with a suggestion. "Why not take Amy instead? It was your prize originally, right? You should go and have some quality time together." Mom nodded in agreement, clearly excited by the idea. "That sounds wonderful." Feeling a renewed sense of excitement, I applied for leave the next day, which was quickly approved. I then called the airline to arrange for the tickets to be used by Amy and me. On my way home from work, I stopped at a bookstore and picked up a guidebook for Hawaii. It had been ages since Mom and I had traveled together, and I was genuinely looking forward to it. When I got home, expecting the house to be empty, I was surprised to find the lights on. I had assumed William was still out, but instead of his shoes, I saw a familiar pair of women's shoes at the entrance. Puzzled, I walked in to find Kelly emerging from the living room. Patricia, do you know what time it is? She scolded as soon as she saw me. Oh, Kelly, I didn't realize you were here, I replied, taken aback by her presence and tone. It's not just about me being here, it's late, and William will be back soon, she continued, her voice carrying a note of reproach. I'm sorry, I'll start on dinner right away, I apologized, rushing toward the kitchen. But Kelly didn't stop there. She launched into a critique of my absence, making it clear she expected more from me in managing the household. Her words stung, but they also reminded me of the ever-tightening boundaries in my life that I was increasingly determined to expand. Kelly questioned my commitment as a daughter-in-law with a heavy sigh, attributing my perceived lapses to my job. According to her, my priorities should place home significantly ahead of work. She often used her spare key to drop in unannounced, especially since she lived close by. Kelly clung to outdated views about the role of a daughter-in-law, expecting me to dedicate myself to serving William and his family without any objections. Her persistent critiques made it increasingly difficult for me to feel any warmth toward her. While I was unpacking groceries and starting to prepare dinner, Kelly's voice cut through the air with sudden urgency. Wait, what's this, Patricia? Are you planning a trip to Hawaii? She had stumbled upon the guidebook I had just purchased. Kelly, why are you rummaging through my things? I asked, frustration coloring my tone. That's not the point. Why are you planning to go to Hawaii? She demanded, her voice sharp. I won a trip in a contest. I was planning to give it to my mom, I explained, trying to maintain my composure. I haven't heard anything about this. Why should I? Kelly snapped back, her demeanor confrontational. Our argument was abruptly cut off by William's arrival. Kelly wasted no time in informing him about her discovery, pointing at me accusingly. William, listen, Patricia's being thoughtless. Did she do something wrong? She prodded him. William turned to me, his expression stern. What's going on here? He demanded. I won the trip and wanted to give it to my parents, but since Dad can't go, I thought Mom could go with me, I replied calmly, trying to explain the situation before it. The argument escalated further, and I could feel the tension in the room thickening with every word exchanged. Why didn't you discuss this with me first? William demanded, his tone a mix of confusion and irritation, his brows furrowed as if I had committed an unforgivable crime. It's my prize, William, I replied firmly, my frustration seeping into my voice. What's the big deal? You're always traveling with Kelly. Why can't I decide something for once? His eyes narrowed, and his voice grew louder. It's not the same. Mom and I only go on trips within the country. We haven't been abroad in years. How could you decide this without even talking to me first? I barely had time to respond before he slammed his hand on the table so hard that the dishes rattled. The sharp sound made me flinch. You're getting too bold for a daughter-in-law, he barked, his words dripping with disdain. Mom and I are going, and you're staying home with Mommy. The way he said it, in that childish, mocking tone, made me wince. It was as if he didn't see me as his wife but as an outsider intruding on his little world with his mother. Wait a minute, enough is enough, William, I snapped back, struggling to keep my composure. If you're that unhappy with me, maybe we should talk about divorce. The word divorce hung in the air like a thunderclap. I could hardly believe I was hearing him use that word so casually over something so trivial. Yet here we were. Fuming, I pressed on. I won this trip fair and square. I already decided to give it to my mom. Can't you see the signs for once? She deserves it. When does it end with always putting Kelly first? When do you ever consider how I feel? His face twisted into something cold and unfamiliar. I don't care how you feel. Like I said, this trip is for me and Mommy. Stay home and behave. His dismissive tone chilled me more than the words themselves. At that moment, something inside me snapped. My affection for William, the man I thought I had married, was rapidly dissolving. It became painfully clear that in his eyes, I would never come before Kelly. I forced myself to sound calm, though my heart was racing. Fine, do what you want. Enjoy your trip. He leaned back smugly, as if he had won some great victory. You should have listened in the first place. Do what you want, he muttered, his words flat and indifferent. Meanwhile, Kelly sat there, Her lips curled into a smug smile. She looked almost victorious, as though this entire conflict had been a game for her, and she had just secured the prize. That was when I knew I needed space. If they wanted this trip so badly, let them have it. I decided right then and there that I would leave the house while they were away. The distance would give me time to think, to breathe, and to figure out if there was even a future left in this marriage. The next morning, I called the airline to arrange for the tickets to be transferred, but the representative's voice immediately carried a note of concern. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but once the participants are confirmed, we can't change them." My heart sank. "Is that so?" I asked, though I already sensed where this was going. "Yes," the operator explained, "and this ticket requires that the actual winner, the person who won the contest, must be one of the travelers. If it's your husband and mother-in-law, the ticket will not be valid." I paused, absorbing the weight of her words. "So if I don't go, the ticket is useless?" "Exactly. Please check the documents we sent you. The condition is clearly stated." Later that evening, I casually brought up the topic to William as he lounged on the couch, practically glowing with anticipation. "So, about that Hawaii trip," I began carefully. "Yeah? Did you talk to the airline? Are Mommy and I all set to go?" he asked eagerly, almost bouncing with excitement like a child about to go to an amusement park. "I did call them," I said evenly, sliding the documents and tickets across the table. "Here they are." He glanced at them briefly before pushing the papers aside. "I only need the tickets. I don't need to read the rest." "You should at least check the details," I warned, biting back a smirk, especially since it's international. But William waved me off, his attention already drifting. "Mommy and I are just excited. Don't ruin the mood." I sighed and left the documents on the table. "Fine, they're there if you need them." As expected, he didn't bother reading them, and as I had anticipated, the morning of the trip came with chaos. While I was at my parents' house, enjoying a rare moment of peace, my phone rang. It was William. "Patricia," he yelled the moment I answered. "What's going on?" "They're saying the ticket can't be used." I took a slow breath, almost savoring the moment. "That's right. If the winner doesn't go, the ticket is invalid." "What? Why didn't you tell me this earlier?" His voice cracked with panic. "I did tell you, remember? I said you should read the documents." "You mean it was in those papers you gave me?" he barked, frustration rising. "Exactly. Your fault for not reading. I warned you," I replied calmly, though my heart was thumping with vindication. I could hear Kelly's voice shrieking in the background. "William, what did Patricia say?" "She said if she doesn't go, we have to pay for the trip," he admitted, his voice trembling with disbelief. Kelly snatched the phone. "Patricia, fix this right now," she barked. I had no intention of indulging her tantrum. "You'll have to figure it out yourselves," I said, and hung up without another word. It wasn't long before the phone rang again. This time, William sounded flustered and desperate. "I tried to buy new tickets, but the credit card isn't working," he confessed. "What card?" I asked flatly. "Your card," he admitted, his voice shrinking. My eyes widened. "So you stole my card? Is that what you're telling me?" He stumbled over his words. "I just needed it. I already froze it this morning." I cut him off coldly. "I knew you'd try something like this." That's when he lost his temper completely. "You witch, you ruin everything." Something inside me hardened. "A witch? Look in the mirror. William, you've been stealing from me, mocking me, and clinging to your mommy like a child. Honestly, if you love her so much, why don't you just stay with her? I'm done being married to a mama's boy." His sharp intake of breath told me I had struck a nerve. "If you keep talking like this, we're getting divorced," he threatened. "Fine by me," I snapped. "I was already planning on it. I've moved out, and I'm not coming back. Enjoy your life with mommy." With that, I hung up and immediately blocked both him and Kelly. The next day, I went to a law firm and started divorce proceedings. That's when I discovered the true extent of his betrayal. Our joint account was empty. William had been draining it little by little, funding his little getaways with Kelly. He had even tried to cover expenses with my credit card. I filed for financial compensation, and soon creditors were chasing him down. Kelly, once so smug and indulgent, now found herself arguing constantly with the son she had spoiled rotten. Their closeness was unraveling under the pressure of money troubles. As for me, I stayed with my parents, letting their warmth remind me of what truly mattered: loyalty, respect, and love. The chaos of my marriage had clouded my vision, but stepping away made everything clear. What I had lost was nothing compared to what I had regained: my dignity, my peace, and the realization that a real family is one that supports you, not suffocates you.